You. All right, let's see if we can add Brenden in here. Cool. Oh, wait on him. What's up? Just waiting on Brenden to join in here. We'll get him in. Hey. Oh, I can invite him? Damn. Your boy getting old. There we go. Let's get this man in here. See what he's gonna say. Oh, I hear you. Hey, there he is.
Yo,
Adjust my shit real quick. Damn,
what
you're
is
out in the
going on?
car? That's what's up.
What happened?
I see you're out with the car?
Yeah, I'm in the garage. Yeah, out with it on sitting on jack stands right now.
Oh, damn. It looks good, though. I love this new wheels.
Thank you, bro.
Oh,
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
So, yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and introduce you and this whole thing we're doing. So, like I said in the post to everyone else, we kind of wanted to get a few people that we've kind of met over the years together and talk a little bit, jab it up about just their involvement in the scene, kind of what got them into it, what motivates them, and other stuff from that. So I figured, Brenden, you would be the perfect first guest for us to talk with. Get to
Appreciate that.
know a little bit more about. Yeah, so obviously you're very active on social media, not only with your own personal page, but with the company Visual Autowerks. You're on Facebook quite often as well. I feel like I'm very up to date with what you're doing, so I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, and I figured you'd be a good one to talk to. So cool, man. Well, I know I sent you a few questions. I got some here.
Yeah, yeah.
We can get going with, but I know you were just saying you're taking off you're in North Carolina now.
Yeah, yeah. We're in North Carolina, so we're leaving tomorrow morning to go to Long Island for a week. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be an interesting trip because it's about like a normally like an 8 to 9 hour drive, but we got the baby, so it's definitely gonna prolong that drive a bit more. So
It will. I can tell you by experience. Yeah. We the first vacation we ever took with our son was like we packed like probably three times as much stuff as like we normally would, and you would think for like a
yep,
small child like you would not need that much stuff, but it's
yep.
like cribs and well, what do they call them?
The pack and
Plug and
play.
plays. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting it down. 2 years in, I'm figuring it out. But yeah, it's wild. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And luckily, I think they have a big storm coming Friday, right?
Well, no, they have one today, actually. I know. I don't
Oh,
know
damn.
about this. I don't know if there's another one coming or not. I haven't really looked into the weather that much. I know possibly Sunday it
Yeah.
might. It was supposed to rain for Halloween, which kind of sucks because it was Carter's first Halloween. We have like the whole outfits planned out and everything. So
Damn. You guys got matching outfits? What's the deal?
we're doing 101 Dalmatians. So
That's sick.
he's a puppy. Lily is Cruella, and I'm gonna be the dog catcher.
Sweet. That should be fun. Yeah, we're doing Baby Shark. It was easy, and
That's awesome.
he's a fan. I'm sick of that song, but anyways, we'll get into what brought everyone here. So thanks for everyone for joining. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post it. Anything specifically for Brenden. If you guys have questions about stuff we do, you can always reach out to us via email or phone. All that information's in the link below or above, wherever. I just want to start off. For those who don't know, who are you and what do you do? How do I know
I'm
you?
Brenden Schultz. I own Visual Autowerks about now 6 years in the making. I'm a lifetime mechanic. I've worked on cars since I basically started walking, whether it's a little Power Wheel, something like that. And I really started getting heavy into them into about 2013, I would say. So we're now going on 8 years. I mean, I was always into them. I had lifted Jeeps and everything. My first car when I was 16 was a Honda Civic, and I was all into the aftermarket eBay crap, like a
Love
eBay air
it.
filter, like a double din with a PS2 in it, playing Need for Speed. So
Hell yeah.
I've been doing stuff like that for since I was young, and I came up with Visual Autoworks back in 2015, and it was started off as a product, which is the removable window vents for the GD platform, and that kind of like was a light bulb that went off, and it came out with just because I didn't have them for any Subarus in general. Just the only time I've ever seen them was for Evos, and I was like, I really
Yeah.
want this for my car, but I got to figure out how to do it. So I had a old buddy of mine that helped me out at the time and design it. And then we were like, oh, it's kind of cool. Maybe a couple of my friends might like it. And I posted on the pages, and within I think 24 hours, I had 60 pre-orders.
Damn.
And that was just like the light bulb that went off. And I was like, I think I have like not literally $1 million idea, but the $1 million idea that like the American dream, like you want to come up with something and become a business. So I was like, let's see what I can do with this. And
Yeah.
I was doing this part-time though up until last year when I moved to North Carolina. I was doing this. I was working full-time, 40 plus hours a week, and then coming home at the end of the day and putting together window vents and assembling orders. So I was doing this for 5 years up until last year, and I told myself, I was like, I really want to do this full-time, but I got to make sure I know I can comfortably do it and that it's stable enough to go full-time and make it my primary income. And COVID hit, and it's crazy that because I know so many businesses that shut down because of COVID, and then there's people like me that actually amplified and sped up my process of going full-time, because I had the best month of my entire business career, the month of the stimulus checks. And that was just very big for all my businesses. I'm sure you did very well as well. And that sort of kind of gave me the push to really go forward and say, hey, I can do this full time. Let's move to a different state. Let me do work out of the house for now, see, and then eventually get a shop. So I'd say I went full time last year doing this in around June. We moved down at the end of June last year. So I did go a little month or two earlier back in New York when I left my job during COVID. But once I came there, I've been doing this full time since. I really want to open up a shop though eventually and start working on cars again, because I definitely don't. I do miss working on cars, but I don't want to work on ship boxes. I want to do like air installs. I want to do coilover installs. I want to start doing like wheel builds. I mean, I miss it. I enjoy doing working on my car. I mean, it's hard now with the baby, but I definitely want to start doing car builds again. It's gonna be nice to have a shop and actually with a lift and start doing more work and expand my business out more.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny you say that because three of our guys, our shop manager Cody, and then Shane and Jason, they all used to work at the Ford dealership together. I didn't know this when I like brought them on, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it just kind of Cody came on, and then he said like Jason did all like the police car like upfittings, like all the wiring and stuff. So he's like, I got this guy to be perfect. And then Shane came in, so it's kind of funny. Like all of them are like, I could never go back to being like a regular like tech mechanic, like especially up here, like, you know, like the salt in the winters and getting like ice and slush.
Yeah,
like,
the winters are so harsh up there.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of funny. Yeah,
they
feel the same way. Nice. Sweet, man. Yeah, and I know the last 2 years have been crazy for you. But yeah, I wanted to throw it back actually before we go into the next question. I thought about this right before we got on here. I actually took this picture in October 3rd of 2015. It was before I ever got to know you. I just saw your car at H2O.
That's so funny. Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
That's probably, I think that might have been right before I might have contacted you about getting headlights.
I think so. Yeah, that's when you were on the KF still.
Yeah.
The VSKF works. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I figured I'll bring that up real quick. But yeah, next question we have here is, I know you kind of talked about it for just a moment there, but kind of what got you into cars? You said you've been working on them since you can remember.
I mean, it's just ever since I was a kid, I just had that passion. I mean, it's the typical, everyone had Hot Wheels. We had that little like car playmat thing. And I've always liked tinkering with stuff my entire life. I've always been a hands-on person, and I'm just constantly, the gears are just constantly going with me. And working on cars, I started tinkering here and there. I didn't really get big into, I had took a BOSI's class in high school, which was like aftermarket stuff, focused and some body work. So that kind of like got me into the beginning of it. And then it sort of just like climbed from there. And then I started working at a body shop. And then I was like, I really want to start working on like cars mechanically and not just the body work, because like the body work just wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got a job at a shop back in Long Island, and I was there for I think almost 4 years. And it was, all around repair shop, maintenance, lube, engine repair, transmission repair, everything you can think of. And it kind of just over the years working there, I just progressed and worked on my own stuff and kind of keep going. I mean, I've had probably, I lost count. I think I've had over 30 different cars easily. Yeah,
I've had a few, but that's a lot.
Yeah, I've had well over 30, and I've lost count at this point, because I would have so many, and I love tinkering with stuff, and I love trying new things, and I just like expanding my knowledge. So like, I mean, clearly you know me, I'm huge with Subarus now, and like that was ever since I started driving when I was 17, I was like, I always wanted STI, and fortunately, I have my dream car right here. I've always wanted a Blah by STI. That was like one of my
Yeah.
dream cars. And then it like changed to a Hawkeye, and then it worked out where I kind of got my dream car, like which ended up being the Blah by. But besides the Subarus, I mean, you saw I had the C10. That
Yeah.
was one of my favorite cars that I unfortunately had to sell to have the room for the baby for a back seat. But I like to build one with him. So it's more so just over the years, just the more the tinkering I do, the more
That'd
I
be
get
cool.
into cars, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah, I remember just like friends in high school. I kind of came into it like later on. I always wouldn't say I was always into it like growing up, but I was like definitely into like skateboarding and stuff. And it seems like a lot of like skateboarders turn into like car enthusiasts. I don't know what it is, like just the like tinkering with stuff because like with skateboards, like you're always taking things apart and breaking them and whatever. So I don't know. But
Yeah,
maybe that
yeah.
has something to do with it. It attracts people to it, but sweet. So I know you talked about the car behind you there. So what are you currently driving for the folks joining us, and what you got done to it so far?
So this is the current car right here. It's on jack stands right now. I'm actually in the process of. I know this is going to answer and kind of lead into the next question as well. It's on jack stands because I pulled out the air ride because I just signed a sponsorship deal with AccuWear. So I
Sick, congrats.
have
You
their
told me that.
thank you. Yeah, I have their ultimate package. So like their number one package where they comes like the E level, the controller, everything you can think of with their kit. And I'm excited. It's got the all-in-one tank with the management built into the tank. They actually discontinued the CVT, which is the one with the compressors built in, because they were having
Mm,
issues with it. It was a great idea, but there was too many complications with it, so they actually discontinued it. So they just
gotcha.
kept it where just the management's built in, and then I have the two separate compressors. But there's no air in the car whatsoever. I just got the lines in there. I got to pull out and I got to upgrade to the 3/8
Damn.
lines. So I mean, you know how it is. I haven't had time because of the baby, but it's been
Yeah.
on jack stand for like 2 weeks now. But yeah, it's got an IAG Stage 2 block. I'm not gonna take any credit for that because I got fortunate enough where I bought it from a friend of mine that did got the engine work done prior to me purchasing it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
sweet.
but it's only got 50,000 miles on the whole chassis. The engine build has maybe 3,000 miles on it, if that.
Damn.
Um, I got to get it. It's still not even fully tuned yet. It's still in a break-in tune right now that I've been like slowly
Really?
increasing boost. Yeah, so I haven't got full power out of it, and I'm hoping to get a dyno tune over winter because I want to put a process West intake on it, and
Sick.
clean up the engine bay. So it should make around 400 plus. I'm not looking for anything crazy. I just want a nice, fine, subtle tune that's not going to blow the engine right away, but for me to have fun when I can.
Yeah. What turbo's in it again?
It's got a SPR dual ball bearing.
Gotcha.
I don't know what size exactly, but it's decent size. It's in stock
Yeah.
location. It's not like rotated or anything like that.
I feel like a lot of like the FP turbos, like a lot of people are doing stock location just because you don't have to change like everything in the
Yeah,
car
exactly.
to make
It's
it work.
easiest.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Sick. That's cool. So yeah, it like you said, kind of alludes to the next question, but I know what were kind of the things that attract you to that car? Like what are like a few like the must-haves that you look for in your projects that you pick up?
It's really I'm a less is more kind of guy. So I don't go for big crazy wings. I don't go crazy lit kits all over and like all this flashy stuff. I'm very, as you've seen from my previous builds, I'm very like simple. I like
Yeah.
the little accents here and there, but you have to make everything still flow together. So I got very fortunate that the car came with a Caminari hood, and I had one of
Yeah, that's
my
sick.
green bug eye, and I had one of my purple bug eye. And I said, when I get a blob eye or Hawkeye, I need to get another one because it's just the style of that is my favorite hood. So that's a carbon hood that came with the car. I ended up painting the way that I wanted. So the inverted scoop is carbon. Then it came with a carbon cowl as well. Then I have the carbon trunk with the faded lip. And then I have like just like the carbon accents here and there. So stuff like that is,
Yeah.
to me, I mean, it's just very, you can't go over the top. I mean, that's why like you don't go like 20 degrees of camber with 18 by 12 wheels. It's just not necessary. I mean, by all
Yeah.
means, you do you. People love that stuff, but me, I like less is more. I mean, I am at like I think 6 degrees of rear in the camber in the rear, and that's actually more than I want it to go.
Yeah.
But it's just a way to get these wheels to fit. So I was thinking about even relipping them just to make a little less camber.
Damn.
But stuff like that. I mean, it's just like the little things that people don't think of. So like I did like the roof vent, which is a JDM option that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. Was that like sketchy to cut your
Yeah, I
roof?
mean, I think I think I got out of that hole of being scared to cut a body of a car when I did my flares in my first bug eye.
True.
Because that bug eye, it was definitely like a good chassis for me to learn off and build a lot of new things that I haven't done before.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't like the cleanest platform. So it was for me to clean up and work off, gave me the ambition to be like, okay, I'm comfortable now doing this on a car that's probably worth almost $30,000.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, it was definitely scary because I mean, once you cut it, if you mess up, you got to replace the whole roof, and that's probably like a $2,000 or $3,000 repair right there.
Yeah.
And but once you know what you're doing, you make sure you read tutorials online, everything like that, stuff like that. I mean, people that are always scared, like, oh, you're scared to cut the roof. I'm like, yeah, it's a little scary, but if you're committed to doing it, just make sure you do your research, you're doing it right, you measure properly multiple times, and then go at it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's I tell a lot of people, they ask about like headlights, like how to's. I feel like the biggest pitfall that we hear about is somebody like getting the parts that they want and knowing what they want it to look like, but not understanding how to get it there until they go to do it.
Exactly.
So we've gotten like a few people who like, you know, I'm going to tackle it this weekend. I'm going to start on Friday and wrap it up Monday, you know, or Sunday, and have it drive to work on Monday. But then they get the headlights off the car, and then they look into how to do it, and they're like, oh, like,
yep,
a little more than I
exactly
bargained for or whatever. So yeah, I think the more research you can do, like you were saying, the more like confidence you can get in it. And I think that goes for a lot of stuff with cars, is just like understanding kind of what you're getting into and what you need. We've all gotten into the position of needing to run out to Advance Auto mid project for this or that, but the more you can get around that, the better.
Sweet, yeah, man. I mean, it's doing your research. I mean, there's so many videos and so much forum threads that you can look up online, and I mean, not when everyone's for it, when you just go straight to Facebook group page, like, hey, how do I do this? And it's like, do your research first, because chances are you might get 10 people that don't know what they're talking about telling you that, and you're like, oh, that's what I got to do. 100%. And then there's 3 other threads on the forums that are made from 5 years ago that were like top-notch work.
Yeah.
And it's doing your research before committing to it, and don't be lazy about it at the same time.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Like a lot of like the stuff is turned to like Facebook groups, which is kind of like, they're not as like aged. Like a lot of Facebook groups are like the last like 2 years, 3 years. So if you go somewhere like Naziok or I Got an STI or like any of those sites that are like, I mean, I don't even know when those sites were like really most active. I feel like I bought my first WRX in 2010, 2011. And back then, like that was the place to be. Like that's where you got information, where you bought parts.
It's funny you say that, because actually that was where I found the thread for that roof vent install.
No way.
A guy did it on a wagon, and it was right on the Zai forums. And it was, I read that thread probably like 20 times before I actually like committed to it, because it ended up being like a 2-day job for myself. But honestly, it worked out super well. I mean, I could have went on Facebook, but who knows if people have the right stuff. Whereas this forum, people back then from 10, 15, 20 years ago did things way different and explained things differently, gave photos differently, and were so specific to do. Whereas nowadays, someone's like, oh yeah, just cut the hole in your roof and install the part. Like it's something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like photo sharing back then was such, it's still kind of a hassle. So I feel like a lot of people back then, they would post as many photos as they could, because that was like, everything was a hassle on the internet back then. So like, to them, it was like for me, like if I were to post a picture on like a forum like that, you have to download like some plugin or like add it to like an image hosting site and then post the link. Or with Facebook now, you can just like very easily post a photo. So I feel like because everything was harder to do back then on the internet, I sound very old when I call it that. I feel like people would take the time to make sure it was like correct and post multiple photos, where like Facebook now, like you see people installing a part, like a big part, and explaining how to do it with like one photo.
Yeah, so, exactly. It's just doing your research. All it is take the 15 minutes out of your night and just go on Google real quick. Take an hour and a half. Once you find something, and just dig through it. I mean, if you're that much of an enthusiast and that involved in what you want to do, you'll commit the time prior doing the proper research and everything for doing those special things. And the same thing goes with like wheel builds, and same thing with like trying to find certain parts. Everyone's just like, oh, where'd you get that? Oh, what is this? What is that? It's like people are willing to help to an extent, and it's just that the problem is that if this goes back on a post that actually went pretty viral not too long ago, and I don't want to kind of stray away from everything, but it goes with that. I'm not trying to be like hiding my crap from you and saying like you got to do
Yeah.
your own research. It's the principle that I won't always be there for you. So if you do your research and say, using a wheel build as an example, if you learn how to properly build a wheel, you will never have to ask anyone else, hey, what size lip should I get? What size valve should I get? Or what size discs do I need?
Yeah.
And once you understand how a wheel builds, and I literally sat down for, I swear, I think like 7 hours one day back when I built my, I think it was actually when I built my KS, because I had such a nightmare with, I had a set of Autowerks actually that were a nightmare and they weren't built properly. And I sat down to myself as I bought a pair of set of 17 by 8 VSKFs, and I was like, I need these to fit on my car with flares. So I said, I borrowed a set of Works here archives from a friend and threw them on my car and knew what specs they were. I said, okay, I know what that is now. So now I'm going to build my wheels off that spec. And then I look up how do you determine offset? And then they say you measure off the disc, the hub to the back of the wheel, depending on how far they're off from the center. So stuff like that is why my mentality and many others that say do your own research is that I'm not trying to be secretive. I'm doing it because this way you learn, and it honestly, it's so much more rewarding at the end of the day. When those VSKs were put in that car, I almost fucking cried because I was like, I've never done this before in my life, and I literally sat down for hours on end trying to figure out the specs. I built them, I threw them on the car, and they were lip to fender, dead where I wanted to be. And I was like, it was so rewarding. And then now I know from where to go in the future. So ever since then, I mean, you've seen how many fucking different wheel builds I have. Excuse my language. You've seen how many different wheels I've had, and it's just because I know the specs now and I know how to like move things around and change it. It's fun at this point. And that's why me and many others try and push for the figure it out on your own, because we're not doing it because we don't want to be lazy and be like, you're annoying me. We're doing it because it's educational. And if you're a true enthusiast, you'll be like, no, that's actually pretty cool. Like I learned how to do it the proper way, instead of me going, hey, my wheels are 18 by 10 plus 30. And he's be like, oh, okay, I'm going to go buy these right there and then and there.
Yeah.
And then when they got to move them 10 millimeters out, it's as simple as getting a 10 mil spacer, but they're like, oh, well, how do I get to be plus 20 instead? If you learned on your own, you would have figured it out.
Yeah. I feel like we should put like one of those, the more you know, like the shooting star. For sure. I'm going to stray off the script, the questions we have a little bit, just because I think it's something that I'm actually curious about. I think some other people might be as well. Where do you get most of your parts? Because I feel like you're like a little more thrifty than the average. I feel like a lot of the stuff that you find, I kind of dig through stuff. I'm always kind of looking for something for sale. Don't tell my wife, but you know, like where like I don't see like a lot of things that you pick up, and I'm just like kind of curious where you get a lot of your stuff.
I'm very fortunate to have a lot more free time on my hands now, being my own boss and only working X amount of hours a day. But I spend a lot of time, honestly, just browsing. The biggest thing is Japan auctions. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
You go Yahoo.
Yeah, so it's basically Yahoo.Aledu. It's the English translated version of it. And you just got to find an importer. I mean, I can't just give out this information, but I personally have an importer that I'm like, hey, how much is this item shipped to me? He goes, okay, here's your price. Let me know if you want.
I think we have the same guy.
Streeter?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah, I use Streeter.
Gotcha.
But a lot of my stuff I find in Japan auction, and I'm very quick to it. So a perfect example is my Ganador mirrors. They're the Super Ganadors. They're LED, Hydro Dip Carbon, and came with blue lens. Those are now valued. They're probably almost like $2,000 mirrors, which is absolutely ridiculous. I got very lucky, and so they were on the auctions, and I kind of jumped the gun as soon as I saw it. I think they were listed for no more than 20 minutes. And I think Streeter got them for me for 13 and change shipped.
Damn.
So I immediately said, okay, I want them. So it's stuff like that. I mean, I have a carbon front lip off eBay that everyone else has the plain black one, polyurethane. But I want the carbon accents, so I spend the extra $200 on it and get that little stuff. So a lot of the stuff I do find on Japan auction. I'm always browsing Facebook pages, and then it's just kind of like browsing eBay, but for not the eBay quality parts, but for the more rarity of stuff. And a lot of it's like word of mouth. So I had like a friend was like, hey, I found this trunk for sale, which is ends up how I found this one. A friend found it, and he sent it my way because he knew I was looking. So a lot of stuff like that I do get lucky with, but I know, like, I have the carbon steering wheel. I have a guy back in New Jersey that I had him do my Purple Bug Eye steering wheel.
Yeah, I
So
remember that
stuff
one,
like
the
that.
purple weave.
Yeah, so stuff like that. I mean, it's just a matter. It comes down to doing your research, as always, and that's another reason
Yeah.
why, because you find these things that, whereas like, I'm not trying to pat my own back, but I have a pretty outstanding build compared to many other Subarus. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at my car and you see these rare parts, you see the parts that you don't normally see on other cars, and the attention to detail, and that's what my generation and us are trying to do for these new kids, and to do that so that they're not doing these typical, like, everything is all the same. You want to be unique.
Yeah.
You want to have yours unique in a good way.
Yeah.
But
I think
it's
something that you said too is like even just like knowing what you want and posting it. Because now that you say that, like I remember seeing that trunk pop up. And like I think there was like 7 or 8 people tagged you, and you were like, okay, guys, like chill. Like I know
yeah,
I know where it is. So I think it's like kind of cool. Like you don't really. I feel like a lot of people, even myself, if I want a part, I usually try to find it myself. But I feel like you're like very like active about it, where like you'll post like I'm looking for this or this. And
yeah,
I think within
exactly.
like 3 days of you posting that, you got mobbed by that one for sale.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's the one that you
yeah.
picked
It's
up, right?
definitely
Kyle got it for you, or
yeah, Kyle. So the guy lived, I think, an hour away from Kyle, and Kyle was actually coming down, I think, 45 minutes away from my area.
perfect.
So he was like, yeah, he's like, I'll pick it up for you and I'll just meet up with you. So it worked out. We grabbed like Cracker Barrel and grabbed breakfast together. So it was actually
You
really
country boy. Cracker Barrel, come
um,
on.
but yeah, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, I'm always, if I want like a specific part, I go to like, there's the Top Shelf and Rare Parts page,
Yeah,
and you just go on the Facebook groups. There's so many people nowadays that sell stuff, and if you want something, you can research and look for it, but at the same time, post it like, hey, I'm looking for this, because you don't know if someone doesn't have it for sale, but they have it, and they're like, you know what, maybe I'll just sell it and I'll message you.
yeah,
It's something as simple as that. So
yeah, for sure. Sweet. We'll get back on track here. Sorry.
no, no
Oh,
problem.
there's a good one. What's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
biggest issue you've had with a car, and what kind of helped keep you motivated like through
I
that
mean,
process?
you can probably understand which one I'm about to bring up.
Yep.
A lot of
There's
people know about this one. Is
a little
the
time
purple
hop the
bug
other
eye,
day.
the purple bug eye getting crushed by that tree.
I couldn't
I would
believe when
say
you
that,
texted me a photo. I was like, "Did you get
dude.
in an accident?" Like I couldn't tell. I was like, "It looks fine," and I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the hardest thing about everything, because I mean, it was very ironic because there was no like warning about some sort of storm coming by, and we were on our way home, and Lily and I were like, oh, we're like, we saw a bunch of like leaves on the ground. We're like, oh, imagine a tree fell in the car, like laughing it off. And I had it on my dash cam, my truck at the time. We pulled up at the house. It was pitch black out, and I still vividly remember pulling the driveway, and I see the tree sitting on top of the car, and me and Lily just looked at each other, and our jaw dropped, and we're like, are you fucking kidding? And sure
yeah,
enough,
dude."
we literally just jump out of the car, and Lily just starts hysterically crying, because not only did it fall on my car and cave in the roof, it fell on the front end of her BMW, and on top of that, it shot a branch about 20 feet behind the BMW and shattered the windshield on our brand new Tiguan. Yeah.
I didn't even know about
So
that.
yeah, it was in the video.
Jesus.
I'll send you the video after this about it. But
Sure.
it like literally
Fuck, man.
it hit like the pillar where the rubber trim is and shattered the whole windshield. So luckily it was just that and the rubber trim, which I got done through insurance. But the
Yeah.
Subaru the Subaru was actually repairable, but to me it wouldn't have been the same. And at that time, it was
Yeah.
very ironic. The reason why it kept me uplifted was that I know, like, I got very fortunate that only certain parts got damaged, where everything else was still valued. Like the wheels didn't get damaged, the carbon hood had a little mark on it that I sold, and everything else in the car was in good condition to sell. So for me, I was like, I'm like, this might be the time to move on. I've had the car for almost 2 years, and ironically, I was literally maybe a month before that, I started pricing out what the parts are on my car, because I was thinking about moving it more towards a stock daily, because I wanted to build the C10.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of ironic that at that time I was like, I already have a list of what each value part is. And I was like, this is kind of my switch now. Like one door closes, another door opens. And
Yeah.
I was like,
A
this is
sign.
going to be, yeah, I'm like, this is going to be what I wanted. Because I was like, I want to build a C10. So I'm like, this was my calling right here. I was like, I'll move away from the car. I'll sell everything out of it. And I got very fortunate where I sold a lot of the parts very fast, and I got a lot of money back. Insurance didn't give me much for the chassis, but
Yeah.
selling the parts and the amount of rare parts and valued parts I have in the car, it gave me enough where I was able to basically just build the C10 how I wanted right off the bat.
Yeah.
And that was a reason why my C10 was purchased in, I believe, November or October, and by February it was laying frame, which not many people know. It costs almost $13,000 just to get a truck like that to lay frame. You
Yeah, the
got to do a lot
bad.
of
I
custom
couldn't
parts.
imagine like the bed, like all the work they had. I didn't know that like
Yeah, and I
it's
got a
quite
very good deal.
extensive.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do it myself, but I actually went through a fabrication shop in New Jersey that has a lot of experience with it. So I was like, I'll just pay him to do it because he's experienced with it. I was like, I just want to get it done over winter. I have the money right now, so I'll just spend it. I don't care because I'd rather pay for quality than me trying to learn something on a chassis and
Yeah.
cutting it up. And if I mess it up, I'm like, I just screwed myself. So, but getting through that, I mean, it was tough because Lily's car, I mean, she loved that car too, and we ended up just moving on from it. So the biggest thing for me trying to stay motivated was just the fact that I had another build in mind already, and I just kind of stayed strong about it and
Made
sold all the
made
parts.
peace with it.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly.
Yeah. That sucks. Yeah, I remember that happened. I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. But we
Yeah,
move on.
it was
You
hard.
got you. You're down in Jersey, or sorry, and somebody said something about Jersey.
Yeah,
Who
he
in
said, "Who in
Jersey,
Jersey,
please?
please?" So I think he's asking about the guy who did the work. It was Haggard Fabrication. You can find him on Facebook. He's a little bit of older gentleman, not older, but older than me, and he has done dozens of trucks, and he does crazy fabrication work. And I've tried sending so many people his way because his pricing is incredible, his work was incredible, his timing was incredible. Is a great guy. He gave me a ton of updates every time I worked in the truck. He sent me like 3 dozen photos.
Yeah,
So it was I needed a new tranny hump, and he did the research, and he found a tranny hump an hour away from him, and he picked it up. So like stuff
that's
like that.
sick.
Like, yeah. So Haggard Fabrication for anyone who needs work like that.
Oh yeah, sick. Um, so what kind of projects do you have coming up? Whether it be for the STI or like even for like work. Are there other things that you're kind of excited for coming up in the near
Um,
future?
as far as the STI, basically I have the AccuWear going in to be a nice little trunk setup that I plan on doing something really simple, nothing out of the ordinary. It's really just that. I'm probably going to clean up the engine bay a little bit. I'm not going to go all out. I'm not going to pull the engine and shave it or anything like that and do tubs. It's more work than I'm trying to be involved with right now. But I do want to do, like I
Yeah,
was mentioning, about the process west intake, and just doing a process west intake is going to be a project. I mean, I got to move all vacuum lines, fuel lines. I got to change everything around on. I got to do new intercooler piping. So that's going to be
yeah.
a project. So the STI's got basically that, a little bit of the engine bay and the air ride.
You gonna do
Um,
forward facing or just like standard
no,
setup?
I can't. Not with that hood
Oh,
because it's got the
true,
inverted scoop.
true.
But I don't mind having a standard one. I don't mind it
Yeah,
in the back. Um, Only because I think going forward you have to get custom mounts for like the AC unit possibly too. I could be wrong,
yeah.
but
I think it's
I
the
like,
alternator and AC compressor. Yeah,
yeah, and I like having the AC, and especially because with the baby we're gonna need it.
yeah,
So I
true.
try to keep that. But talking about non-car related and maybe about my business, right now I don't have any big projects planned. I am still trying to expand to a shop. I'm hoping by next year, but my timeline keeps getting going like this because I say one year I'm like, oh, I want to buy a house, and then I want to open up a shop, and it keeps going back and forth. And then we moved to North Carolina and we rented for a year, and we were gonna buy this year after a year living here, and then the year went by, and I'm like, we're not ready to buy right now, and not with this market. So then I was like, we'll
Yeah,
extend it. We extended our lease 2 more years down here because it's still the rent here is like half the price in New York. It's incredible.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, maybe next year I'll buy a shop. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, by the time I'm ready for a shop, I'm gonna have to go put a deposit on a house because we want to build. So then we have until June of 2023. And I'm like, by the time I'm ready to put money on a shop, I have to go put money down for a house. So
yeah.
it's like the projects that I want to do, and expand my business too. It keeps getting pushed further and further because of these life events happening.
Yeah.
But I do want to open up a shop eventually. That's sort of my next big project because I am working out of the garage right now. I mean, I'll show you quickly. This
Ooh,
is
the
my
tour.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick little tour. So let me flip
Cool.
the camera. So this is basically.
You're wearing pants, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, sick.
So basically, this is the garage right here. That's the Subaru, obviously, and
There
then
she
this is my whole workstation. This whole area is my inventory,
yeah.
my work area, and all my stock just kind of here. And that's pretty much it. And then this is like the personal stuff. I got the car there, my toolboxes. It's a mess right now, but this is what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. This is what I do right now, and I'm working out of my garage, which is honestly, actually, very, very. I'm very grateful for, because the way my work is planning out right now is that I wake up in the morning and I can even come down in my pajamas if I want. I don't, because I'm a jeans guy. I can't work in shorts. But I come downstairs and I'm in my garage working. I'm working out of my house. I'm not putting mileage on my car. I'm not dropping money on my car by maintenance and left and right. So it's very nice to work from home, but at the same time, I can't do what I want out of this garage.
Yeah.
And I want to get a shop, and even if it starts off with a couple-year lease with a storefront, and I have a storefront with the window vents, that's all I need right now. And then eventually I want to get a shop with a lift. So that's kind of where I want to go from there.
Yeah, it's really, we're kind of like looking to the future. We might have some announcement sooner than later about that as far as a place. But we looked into buying too, and like I talked to a really good friend of mine, Ryan, who owns a shop called Ready Imports. There's 2 locations up here. And I talked with him about, like, is it worth trying to buy or a rent or whatever? And he had a really good point, which is like, for us, like, we doubled our staff in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've been in our current location for 3 years and we're already like outgrown it. So he's like, you buy a place that suits your needs now, and you have the money for that place now, in a few years you're gonna have to either add on to it or sell it or this or that. So I think for us, like, I'd love to buy a place. I think it'd be awesome, but it might not make like the most sense like when you're starting to like really ramp up. So I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I'm one of those guys who, like, I don't lease. I don't like to lease cars. I like to own them because you have something at the end or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Buying a shop is like the other thing too is I wasn't sure like what kind of money you needed down, but you need like more than more than residential as far as like a percentage. And I was like, I thought it might be the other way around, but it's all good. I mean, it's just one of those things where like where do you want to put your money into like the shop and the property you're on, or into like the product and what you offer. So I mean, hey, it's still a goal of mine. I think down the road, I'd love to, but it might be the right thing for you. If you find a spot, and especially down there, like, you're going to be there for a while and you want something where you can go. I think for me, like the biggest thing is like going somewhere to work. I used to work out of the house when we first started, and it was just like one of those things where like it just kind of like blended together. Like I would kind of, I'd be hanging out with my wife, and she'd be watching like Bachelor or whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna go downstairs and work for a little bit, and then that would turn into like 3 a.m. So I like going to work. I love what I do. I like having my own little space. It's kind of like away from everyone, and it's weird. I think, but there are other things where like I wish I was here, and I wish I could walk in the kitchen and make lunch instead of
exactly
work,
that's like the big benefit of stuff like that. I mean, Lily stayed home now. That was the biggest thing of us moving down here. Is I said I'm not spending money on daycare if you're gonna work and break even, basically. So I was like, I'd rather you just stay home and build a relationship with the child instead of leaving him at a daycare. And it's worked out in our favor so far. And it's nice. I can just, if I'm working, I'm like, I want to take a 5-minute break. I want to go see my son, and I'll just walk into the house real quick, just hang out.
That's super cool.
And it's just like that. It's definitely the only problem is that it becomes too relaxing though. And it gets me. I get when I'm working, I do get very motivated and very like focused on it. But when I'm done and if I walk into the house, I kind of just like, oh, I'm done for the day. Whereas
Yeah.
if I actually physically drive somewhere to a location and I start working, I can sit there for 8 hours, no problem, and
Yeah.
just keep going at it. But like the problem is with my house, if I do sit down to go watch a show for a half hour because I feel like taking a break for whatever reason, it's going to be hard for me to get back up and start working again.
Yeah, for sure. Bro, like I crushed every season of like every show when I was working like by my oh my God, dude. Podcasts, I rifle through them nowadays. I'm big into podcasts because it's like one of those things I could put on and just like kind of zone and
Yeah, yeah,
get
of
work
course.
done. But working with other people now, it's like a little tougher to like watch stuff. I try not to just because I don't want them to walk in and be like, this isn't an important scene. It is cool if I ask you a question. Like, yo, it's the end of the season, man. So yeah, that's one of the cool things that I feel like I crush so much, like TV and shows and like The Wire. I crushed The Wire like twice, just because like I would sit there and just work for 8 hours a day, yeah, and just like put something on. So,
That's funny.
um, dope, man. I think that's all we really had. I think tell us about Visual Autowerks. I feel like we talked about it a bit, but if you want to tell anyone like where to find you and kind of where to find your product, a little bit about your product real quick
Yeah, of
before
course.
we
So, Visual Autowerks specializes in basically removable window vents. It's become a more popular part over the years. There unfortunately is a few competitors out there since I will say that since I basically started, I've seen a lot more pop up over the years.
yeah.
I do have a fairly large name in the Subaru community with them. I do have the widest selection available. We currently offer them for almost 70 different vehicles now. Um, and that's over the last 6 years. And I'm just trying to keep adding more to the catalog. And I have basically standard options. I have basically 6 different combinations, and then we have dozens of customizations that are available for cutouts and stuff like that. But I mainly focus on Subarus. What became very big over the last year is that I actually expanded out to the overlanding community with Toyotas, and very big with Tacomas, very big with the 4Runners. People love them for camping. So
Yeah.
that was actually like that was going back on the projects. That was like my last year project was like, how can I make the window vents for more than just race cars and style of an aesthetic? And it hit me. I was like, why do people go camping? They sleep in their car,
Yeah.
and they're not going to leave their windows open because of the bugs. So it worked out where I started with the Tacomas, and then all of a sudden the people with the Forerunner is like, oh, I want this for camping. So I said, okay. And the rear hatch glass slides down on those. So I make them
Yeah,
for
that's sick.
I make them for the hatch in the back, and then I make them for the rear doors. So people buy a full kit. They got 3 windows partially open with a mesh screen that
Yeah.
people use to ventilate the cabins. So that is my main product. That I would say like that's in comparison to like basic lights are yours. Lights are your main products, and my main products are the vents. I mean, I have apparel, I have plate deletes, which is like the little things, but um, I'm willing to expand my catalog to more vehicles as long as I see the demand is there. So if anyone watching wants window vents for their vehicle, I don't have them available, send me an email. We'll try and work things out. If your vehicle is near my location, which is here in Raleigh, North Carolina, then I have no problem as long as I can see the demand, because there is a cost for R&D. And if I can't see the demand for it, I can't ask someone to say, hey, I have a Geo Metro, and I'm going to say, okay, well, I need a minimum order then, because I have to see for me to be able to commit to it.
Yeah.
I can't just say, yeah, I'll do it, and I'll drop X amount of dollars on a whole new design to sell one set to this person.
Yeah.
But as far as where to find us, I mean, I am on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on the interwebs. It's visualautoworks.com. Basically, I'm very, very big with Instagram and Facebook. More so Instagram. I'm very active on there. I try and post a couple times a day. I mean, as far as DMs, do not DM us, please. I mean, I know Jeff understands.
Hater.
I do. I'm sure as many others do. We do screen the DMs for priority stuff that you may have just thrown us the DM and we're like, oh crap, we'll just answer you real quick. But if you want information, email will be priority. That's the biggest thing. I mean, you can agree, and many others can agree.
Yeah.
DMs get lost. DMs, you can delete messages. They get lost in there. You can't find certain things. You can't search in the DM itself. You can only search names.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. So email is going to be the best way to reach out. I don't have a phone number because I don't need a phone number for my business yet. So emails can be the best way. Messages on Facebook, that's another way you can do it, but no Instagram DMs.
Yeah.
But that's basically really it. It's just this Instagram and Facebook is the best way to reach out to us.
Sweet. Awesome, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time again.
Of
Thank you for
course.
being the first to do this. And
Thank you. And I thank you for having me too.
yeah, of course, man. With that, I bid you adieu. And yeah, I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning
Thank
in.
you.
And
Thank you guys.
check out the next one.
Appreciate all the follows too. So take it easy, guys.
All right, see ya.
See ya.